Hello and welcome to Unapologetics, the podcast where we break down a cringy Christian right wing or conspiracy article and explain why it's stupid. I am Brentley, and here with me we've got Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Good, Brent. Thanks for having me back again.
Hell yeah, you bet. Oh yeah, I needed you for this one because you do a lot of research. It seems I tend to just react to shit as I read it and like do a cursory glance at shit, but which actually reminds me, we gotta go over something real quick. There was a correction that you pulled up out of the last episode where I was just sort of reading that one article. Um, what was it? It was a shit. What was it? I was like reading it. Oh, that's right. It was the Trump is right, and he was basically saying that other presidents have been treated better, you know,
Hmm.
than him. And I cited one of the news sources, and I went and clicked on it, and it looked like a fucking propaganda site. And to be honest, I really didn't look at it any further. I just went and looked at some of the articles and was like, "Oh yeah, this looks like propaganda." But you're saying it actually is a pretty legitimate news source, right? The
Real,
politics.
real clear politics. Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
mostly factual rating, uh, which is which is good because they're like a right of center news source, and we want as many honest right of center news sources as we can get. So, yeah, when I looked them up, they have a pretty good factuality rating.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I mean that one was like a mostly opinionated thing anyway. It wasn't really like fact based. That article I was reading particularly, it was just like they got treated better, and it was sort of comparing things. But um
Yeah, I mean, if it's an opinion piece, we can just throw it in the garbage with everyone's opinion pieces. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm
which
I'm glad you brought that up. I had a correction of my own. I said the last time I was on your show that the U.S. had 22 super aircraft carriers, and we do not. We have 11, and we have
oh,
20 total aircraft carriers,
oh,
which
okay.
still equals the rest of the world's carrier fleet. And nobody else has super carriers but us. But we only have 11 super carriers.
What the fuck is a suit? It's just like a mass, like it's like four of them to put together or something. A super carrier.
One of our carriers holds like 70 planes in it,
What?
and most of the other countries that have aircraft carriers with planes on them are short takeoff, vertical landing, so they'll like run Harrier jump jets that they can
Oh,
land like helicopters, and then a lot of countries run helicopter aircraft carriers,
oh, okay.
which are much smaller.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense too. Yeah, and they used to have the like back in the Top Gun days, they had to have like the whole string and hook system when they were
Mm-hmm.
like because they were so small. Oh, okay. All right, cool. But yeah, no, that's good. I think it's important that we do that because like when you notice like all the when people talk to me about, well, how do you know your news source is more legitimate than mine? Like, have you ever heard Tucker Carlson be like, "Hey, you know what, y'all, I made a mistake."
Never,
No,
never.
no, it's just and Fox News, it seems like they would say that they're 100% accurate 100% of the time, and we all know that's insane.
No,
So,
and Fox TV and Fox's web service are different. Like they have different factuality ratings. Like Fox
wow,
TV is like almost down in the conspiracy theory land section of the chart,
wow.
but Fox's online, like Fox.com, FoxNews.com, I don't even know what the website is. They're a little closer up towards like telling the truth, but it's still peppered with those insane opinion pieces.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense because I've looked through a lot of Fox News articles on the on the computer, and it actually is a pretty good, like as far as I could tell, it's fact based.
Yeah, sometimes
Seems to be.
sometimes they have actual news on there, and their polling service, Fox News actually has a really good political polling service.
Huh.
So a lot of the polls they put up are legit too.
Well, see, that's good. At least they got some, you know, uh, legitimacy there. But
Mm-hmm.
so today we're going to be breaking down this article that was given to me by Nikki. She was like, "You have to cover this article," and it's at the Federalist.com, and it's the title of the article is "We need to stop calling ourselves conservatives."
This article is amazing. When you sent over all the prospects for what we were going to break down today, like I couldn't get past this one, and this is the only one of them that I read all the way through. This is a whole new level of crazy. Let's point out that the picture at the top of the article is like American revolutionaries tearing down a statue of King George, but all they complain about is tearing down of statues. It's
Yeah, that's too funny.
oh my god.
The irony is thick here.
Yeah, and this article has a lot of irony in it.
Yeah. So okay, so it's written by John Daniel Davidson. Very American name, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't find much on him either, other than he's a longtime conservative journalist who now writes op-ed pieces.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Oh, wow, weird. Okay. Shit. Yeah, that's unusual. You'd think usually everybody with a blue check has got, you know, everybody that's written an article like this has both a blue check and a Wikipedia article, you know.
Does he even have a blue check?
I don't even know. I was gonna say it's right here. It's at John D. Davidson.
Yes, he does.
Oh, John D. Davidson. Yeah, okay. Oh, so he does have a blue check, but no Wikipedia. Interesting. It's weird. I wonder if you have to like do something to get one of those, though. I don't know. Like if you have to write in and be like, "Hi, I'm me, and here's my stuff," you know, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Twitter user, so you tell me.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, in order to get a blue check, you do have to do that. You have to like apply for a blue check for whatever reason, I guess, because people might be trying to copy you or something like that.
Okay.
Parody accounts and shit. But we'll just dive right in. We'll read this first little section here. It says, given the state of America in 2022, conservatives should stop calling themselves conservatives. Why? Because the conservative project has largely failed, and it is time for a new approach. Conservatives have long defined their politics in terms of what they wish to conserve or preserve: individual rights, family values, religious freedom, and so on. Conservatives, we are told, want to preserve the rich traditions and civilizational achievements of the past, pass them on to the next generation, and defend them from the left. In America, the conservatives and classical liberals alike rightly believe an ascendant left wants to dismantle our constitutional system and transform America into a woke dystopia. The task of conservatives, going back many decades now, has been to stop them.
So it seems at the beginning of this like he's almost waving the white flag, saying, okay, we lost. Now it's time to play a new game.
Yeah.
But his list of things that they're trying to protect are all lists of things that they're trying to take away. Individual rights, they argue every day on conservative media to take away the rights of individuals who they disagree with their behavior.
That's sort of their whole bag, isn't it? I mean, they think that we're taking their rights away by not allowing them to take other people's rights away.
And family values. If your idea of family values is this tiny little niche of one white man and one white woman, and what their white pastor tells them is the right thing to do, but there's lots of different kinds of families, man. Why can't all the families have rights?
Right. And no, they're like, no, if you're not part of this, like if it's exactly this kind of family, then you shouldn't be allowed to have X, Y, or Z rights, you know?
Yeah. Oh, let's continue, because this article gets crazier as it goes. It almost seems like he's giving up at the beginning, but by the end, it's full on Hitler speech.
Yeah, quite the opposite. Yeah. So, in an earlier era, this made sense. There was much to conserve, but any honest appraisal of our situation today renders such a definition absurd. After all, what have conservatives succeeded in conserving? In just my lifetime, they have lost much, marriage as it has been understood for thousands of years. Okay. The First Amendment. What? The First Amendment? Okay. Any semblance of control over our borders, a fundamental distinction between men and women. There we go. There's the leader in the culture war right there. And and especially of late, the basic rule of law. What? Holy shit! What was he talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Marriage for thousands of years. That depends on what culture you've
What
been
culture?
in. There are
Yeah.
cultures that have multiple genders.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to touch that. That's just
Stupid.
that's just a guy raising a flag that says, if you hate trans people, you're safe here, bro.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that is. And if you're against gay marriage too, because I think that's right. Marriage, as it's been understood, is saying like, two men can't get married, basically.
Yeah. And I wish he put some sort of a reference for the loss of the First Amendment.
Right.
Pretty sure that's still there.
Yeah.
And
otherwise you wouldn't be able to say this.
Yeah, and it's been strengthened over time, if anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because everybody's going to have some limitations to the First Amendment, but like we have probably the most limitless version of the First Amendment.
The First Amendment, you can say whatever you want, especially if it's about a public figure. You can say anything about them. And if it's true, that's ultimate defense. They can't come after you for it at all.
Right.
I think what they're talking about with First Amendment issues is the social consequences that come along with being an asshole in public.
Right.
And being shouted down by other people that think you're being an asshole is not your First Amendment rights being taken away.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Other people using their First Amendment to like combat your First Amendment is not you not having your First Amendment.
Yeah, the First Amendment only says the government can't tell you can't be an asshole in public.
Yeah, exactly. And we really don't have many laws about that, other than you can't organize to like this, like be talking about, hey, let's all go hurt this person. Like you can't do that. Can't do a call for action to harm people.
That's right. No yelling fire in a crowded theater.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is not a perfect analogy, but it's close enough that everybody will get it.
Yeah, because it directly leads to harm. So I mean, it's pretty clear. Right?
The border thing really pisses me off because there's like this natural flow of people across the border seasonally, right? And it's been that way since the country industrialized, where people from Mexico come across the border and they used to work here seasonally for like the harvest and seasonal manufacturing, and then they would go back to Mexico with the money they made. And that happened for decades and decades and decades.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we used to give them temporary worker visas, and they were the same people would come back every year to work.
Holy shit, that's awesome. But I bet that pisses the conservatives off because they're taking the money back home, right?
Yeah, but it's that argument where they're jobs that Americans don't want to do, and we didn't have enough manpower to do all of it, so we had seasonal help.
Yeah, and it makes and that actually saves our country money. So at the end of the day, it saves our like us buying those products. It saves us a lot of money because they'd have to pay a lot of money to people to go do those jobs if they were Americans, and then of course that cost gets charged to your average person.
Yeah, and it's not just, and you got to think of it too, is that America has a really large agricultural base. We ship food all over the world, wheat, fruit. We are a net exporter, big time, of agricultural products, and we need manpower to produce that.
Yeah. Huh.
So, but the current border problem is, there are always people trying to get across a border. Right. Every country has immigration issues. The current one, though, was really ramped up by Trump because we give financial aid to South American countries.
Oh, okay.
Now, when people think generally that we just give this aid away for free, but America does not give away free aid. America always gets something in return for this aid.
Mm.
So when we were giving money to countries like Nicaragua, what we were doing was propping up poor governments so that their people didn't flee the country and end up here. We were like, put a money dam in place so that we didn't have a migration crisis. And Trump took away that financial aid to those countries. You remember when Fox News was going nuts about the caravans coming to the border?
Oh yeah, the invasion. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so
the invasion of poor people.
Those people weren't Mexicans. Mexicans don't actually come across the border like they used to anymore. This is what was all the South American countries that he stopped giving aid to, and everything got so bad there that they had to go somewhere.
Damn. So he caused that. He like caused the problem that created a problem that was like supposed to be a solution to the problem he was getting. Wow, Jesus.
Yeah,
and Inception levels of fucking problem making and solving.
Yes, and it's not 1-to-1. Those places have legit problems, and our war on drugs causes a lot of them. But it was the taking away of that financial aid money to those governments that broke the dam, and it's like almost on purpose. It's like that meme of the guy riding the bicycle, and then he sticks the stick in his own spokes and flips himself over, and then blames something stupid for it. This is the whole crisis was manufactured.
Damn, it's like it's straight up a self-fulfilling prophecy, man. It's the same thing that the cops do when they show up to a Black Lives Matter protest and are like, they're reacting too peaceful. We better shoot them with a bunch of rubber bullets so that we can say that they're crazy. You know? Yeah,
and some people listening to this might think that that's hyperbole, but I live in a city where I've seen that happen.
Oh yeah, that's not that actually does happen. It's squeezing the cat to prove that it bites. That's what it is. Yeah.
And then finally here, he cites the loss of the basic rule of law, and we are in a time where, as a society, we are realizing that the cops have been brutalizing subclasses of citizens, and now that we all have cameras on us all the time, we're finally seeing that that's happening, and yeah, we're sort of figuring out what to do about it. There's like major social growth happening, and it doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes it's painful, but things are getting better because people in power are being held accountable more.
Yeah, and it kills me though, because they like constantly are talking about this, like, oh, they're burning down cities and everything, and you know, and then they'll turn around and be like, if you point to January 6th, you know. They you know think that, oh, what does there was way more riots during the summer or whatever, you know, they and it's like, dude, that was they were getting murdered by members that were of the government that were paid by their tax dollars to protect them, and they're getting killed by those people. Yeah, I'd be fucking pissed too, you know. But just losing an election, you know, that you believed you didn't lose, like that, come on, and you just felt so fucking emboldened by that. Jesus, they have to get murdered before they're like, okay, guys, we got to like go to the streets and do something, you know. But they're just like, I lost the thing I wanted. All right, let's go march and burn stuff. You know, it's like, wow.
Yeah, there have been exactly 0 cities burned down since BLM protests started. Well, not one.
I mean, Portland, Oregon is not there anymore because it was burned.
I know, it's nuclear holocaust here. It's zombies walking the streets.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, I live in the inner city here too, and it's fine. I can walk in the dark to go wherever I want.
Oh God, yeah. See, okay. It's crazy how they can just like set a narrative, put it on TV, and it's like everybody that doesn't live in that place like has an idea of something that's completely inaccurate.
I know, they just show the picture of the BLM protester that lit his sweatshirt on fire and threw it on the steps of the police union building, saying they were burning down the police building. No. It was one sweatshirt on concrete steps. It's gonna be okay.
It's fine. It's all right.
That guy was real mad, and everything's okay now.
And he probably still got arrested for that shit too.
So, I'm sure.
But yeah, we got to get through. So calling oneself a conservative in today's political climate would be like saying one is a conservative because one wants to preserve the medieval European traditions of arranged marriage and trial by combat. Whatever the merits of those practices, you cannot preserve or defend something that is dead.
He just said right there that there's probably positives to that system.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, maybe the combat thing could work. I don't know. I'm saying, worked for a while back then, Perhaps you can retain a memory of it or knowledge of it, but that is not what conservatism was purportedly about. It was about maintaining traditions and preserving the Western civilization as a living and vibrant thing. Well, too late. Western civilization is dying. The traditions and practices that conservatives champion are, at best, being preserved only in an ever shrinking private sphere. At worst, they are being trampled to dust. They certainly do not form the basis of our common culture or civic life, as they did for most of our nation's history.
Could you imagine being so afraid of the fact that culture changes over time that you have to write something like this?
Right? I mean, what?
And they say Western civilization, but they just mean old American culture. We're not the
Basically.
entirety of the West.
No.
The West is like all of Europe, uh, all of North America, part of South America, and some of the Asian countries. And they all have different cultures that are all changing too. So,
Yeah.
but his entire identity is tied to just this 1950s Americana thing.
Right. Okay. So it is like, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, is he talking like 50s or like before that? Like all the farms and like Little House on the fucking Prairie days or something, you know? Like, I can't tell, but because it
But
seems,
what was so great about that period that he wants back?
I don't, I don't know. The fact that, the fact that everybody, white had more than everybody else. I don't know, you know?
I mean,
Uh,
there were positives back then. There was during Eisenhower, there was a 90-something% rate tax on top earners after they earned a certain amount of money. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
there was lots of money floating around because we made everybody pay their fair share. I'll agree with him. Let's bring that portion back.
Yeah, let's do that because it's gotten all the way down. What is it, like 21% now? I think Biden brought it back up to like 26 or something. All right,
Yeah,
it wasn't a
but
lot.
but corporations pay almost no tax at this point, which is crazy. Historically, business tax is a third of the IRS's income, and now I think it's below 10%.
Jesus. And they get away with that by saying, but all the sales tax, every time the money changes hands, you get a 7% cut or whatever. But that's like, so what? You still got to pay. The rest of us have to do it. Why the fuck don't you? You know?
Yep.
I thought corporations were fucking people, man. Like that was y'all's thing. You
Yeah.
started that shit. Wow.
Oh, he's gonna go anti-libertarian later in this article, and it's gonna be fantastic.
How did they? Okay, because I, as far as I understood, this was a libertarian site, right?
When it's convenient.
It just goes bounce back and forth depending upon what we're talking about. Wow. Okay. So to talk now of family values is to assume that there are enough Americans able and willing to marry and raise children together for something like family values, in quotes, to matter in the public discourse, much less in the halls of power. To talk of defending religious freedom, quotes again, is to misapprehend that the real risk today is widespread irreligion, or I guess atheism would it be, but they just say irreligion. I've never heard that term, but which will leave so few religious Americans in the coming generations that the government and large corporations will inevitably and easily persecute them. So they're
Okay.
going to get persecuted if
The corporations are coming from them if there's not enough religious people to band together. Is that what he's saying there?
I think that is what he's saying. He's like, look, we're going to get persecuted because, we're not basically stamping our religion all over the government or something. I don't know. It's just it's confusing there.
Okay, yeah, that's just we're losing our majority in this one little area. We're real scared about what's going to happen.
Yeah, because they've been assholes this whole time. And now they're like, oh, shit, what if the fucking people we've been stomping on this whole time become like as powerful as us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so not to dig in too far to his quote unquote family values here, as he mentions it twice in, oh God, that's in one sentence. He quotes
Yeah,
that
same
twice.
sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, not enough. But so he's pointing out at the poking the gay and the entire LGBT community there. But really, where he should be focusing is where he says to assume there are enough Americans able and willing to marry and raise children together. That's mostly a financial issue, and that falls almost squarely on the right's shoulders. They sold everything they could to the corporate class, and now everybody's poor but 100 people that make up the top 0.1%, and everybody else is now at the bottom and can't afford to do shit.
Yeah.
That
Because
is solely the fault of the Republican Party and his movement.
yeah, it's yeah, exactly. It's all their fault because like they didn't want any type of regulation, nothing to like get in the way of them being able to do exactly what they want when they want, and then put it up, put it all on the myth of meritocracy, right? And
Yep.
and then just let the fucking money flow, right? And it all flows to the same spot.
Yep.
It's like
All the rivers empty into the ocean eventually.
exactly, like Jesus. So, conservatives are still invoking these things as if they are magic incantations. I will agree with them on that. That can roll back time, just as they did during the crucial decades of the past half century when a cultural and technological revolution was remaking America before their eyes, and they did nothing to stop it.
Yeah, they couldn't, because they had given all the power to business, and business wanted more technology, and we wanted more technology too. Technology makes our life better in
Yeah,
general.
in general, yeah, it's a good thing, honestly. Like
I
always.
mean, yeah, there are downsides to it, but not they are far outweighed by the upsides. But
Absolutely.
he's going to allude here that the conservatives should now try to control technology. Sorry,
Uh
I don't want to read ahead too far, but
oh.
it the trap he's going to lay for himself in a minute is fantastic. So
It's like he didn't. I don't know, this almost feels like a stream of thought. Like he didn't, like he didn't think ahead on any of this stuff. It's just like just as he thinks it, he's writing it down, and that's it.
mm-hmm.
In a recent essay for Compact, I guess Compact is something, a
I,
website or something.
I didn't look that up.
I didn't need it. It's in red letters here. We probably could click it, but anyway, it's not important. John Askinus. Is that really how you spell it? Askinus?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Askinus. John Askinus argues convincingly that the conservative project failed because it didn't take into account the revolutionary principle of technology and its intrinsic connection to the telos, or of sheer profit. The conservatives, he says, were too obsessed with left-wing revolutionary politics and missed the real threat, which was technological change so swift and powerful it fundamentally reordered society, swept tradition aside, and unleashed a moral relativism that rendered the conservative project obsolete.
Well, fucking of course it caught them by surprise, because they were digging their heels in and saying no the entire time it was happening.
Yeah.
But really they got real good at using it. Let's not pretend that the those Twitter bots
Right.
are
They
left
win.
wing in origin.
They win the internet basically because they figured out how to just like all the algorithms are like they basically figured out exactly what the algorithms do and they just do it on purpose. Like they figured out, oh, people click shit more if they're pissed off, and they just centered around that. And now their like right wing media machine is just like pumping out white nationalists like it's a fucking the invasion of the body snatchers, like those plant machines, like
Yeah.
pump out those fucking.
And not to mention every one of those asshole tech bros that started those Silicon Valley companies. Once they got rich, now they're all of a sudden libertarians and want everyone else to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And
Right.
they're now too also spouting conservative nonsense into the ether.
Exactly. Yeah, which is like the most Republican thing is to pull the ladder up behind you. You know what I mean? That's like their whole thing. Like, I made it. Okay, now fuck everybody. Like,
yeah, my life is possible because of the GI program, but now we're going to vote to take it away, kind of a deal.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
What? So instead of questioning these technologies, asking whether they would contribute to human flourishing, they do. Conservatives acquiesced to their inevitability and focused instead on narrower issues. The result has been the transformation of society within the span of a single human lifetime, and with it, the wholesale destruction of our traditions and the looming implosion of Western civilization.
As far as I can tell, it looks like America's still on top for world power.
Yeah.
And Europe's doing pretty well too. You have the whole Ukraine thing, but the Russians seem to be fairly held at bay. Europe isn't going to fall.
Yeah, well, it seems like we're still okay. Like technology, like we haven't. It's all like I felt like this is like almost them saying like the Terminator is going to happen. Then Skynet gets like, uploaded and the machines take over.
What does the fall of Western civilization even look like? Like in reality, does it just mean it slowly changes so that 20 years from now it looks a little different?
Yeah, there's like poor people actually are not, starving to death and shit, and actually have medical, treatments that they can afford and whatnot. Like, I guess that's the fall of Western. I don't know.
Isn't it mind blowing that we're the only industrialized country on the face of the earth that doesn't have single payer healthcare?
Yeah,
the only one.
Jesus, that's pathetic.
Germany managed to keep it going through 2 world wars.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, really? They had it all the way back then?
Yeah, they started one, I can't remember the actual year. I think it was like 1908. They started socialized medicine.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Even in countries that are right wing, they have socialized medicine because it just fucking makes sense.
Of course. Yeah, because even your poorest people need to be able to do their fucking jobs, man. Like, this is crazy. Like, otherwise your whole system collapses.
You have a higher percentage of people that can do work because they're healthy.
Yeah, and then it's like then their systems work better. You got the trash gets taken out, the coffee gets served every morning. Like all these things happen that you need to have happen for your society to function. In a way that makes sense. And it's just crazy here. We're like, no, but rich people should get better healthcare. You're like, fucking why, man? This isn't cosmetic surgery here, dude. This is insane.
Yeah, it's really, their arguments really sound powerful until you look at every other country and realize we're the only country that doesn't have it. Everyone else makes it work. Even Cuba has really great healthcare.
Oh God, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing when Cuba's doing better than you.
I mean, they don't have like the specialty surgeons that we do, but their preventative care is so good that their outcomes are fairly on par with ours.
And they even, as far as I understand, they created a vaccine all on their own because, we've basically said nobody's allowed to do anything with them and like dealing with them at all. So they created the vaccine all on their own, and it's fairly solid as far as I understand.
Oh, I don't know.
Good vaccine.
I have no idea.
For COVID.
That would surprise me, actually, if they came up with one on their own. I'd figure they'd be getting one of the European, Chinese, or the Russian vaccine.
Well, I know that I'm sure they took their P's and Q's from them, but like it was their business that created it at the end of the day.
Okay.
But I think that, you're right, as far as like the technology and how to do it and all that. So I think they got that from other places. But as far as production, they can't buy from anybody, so they have to make it for themselves. As far as I understand, I could be mistaken. If anybody has more information on this and I'm wrong, let me know. Always willing to look at the data. But okay, so what kind of politics should conservatives today, as inheritors of a failed movement, adopt? For starters, they should stop thinking of themselves as conservatives, much less as Republicans, and start thinking of themselves as radicals, restorationists, and counter revolutionists or counter revolutionaries.
Oh
And
yeah, they're always the heroes of history, the counter-revolutionaries.
always the good guys, right? Jesus Christ. Indeed, that is what they are, whether they embrace those labels or not. I don't know who's they in that sense.
Well, I guess every guy in a camouflage shirt
with
toting around an AR-15 because he says it makes him feel safer.
with
He's
wraparound
now,
glasses and
yeah, he's now telling that person to just go ahead and think of yourself as a radical. It's
oh,
time to
that's
go out and use that AR-15.
oh God, I know. Yeah, and that actually reminds me of that. I don't know if you saw that little clip of like a Charlie Kirk speaking publicly, and they're like, "They already did this. They did that." Some guy's asking him a question, and then he's like, "When do we get to use the guns? When do we get?" And everybody cheers, And he's like, "When do I get to
Oh
kill these
no!
motherfuckers?" And he was like, "I have to. I reject that." He was like he had to like push back on that, obviously, but like but it just shows like where they're at mentally. Like we just want to start killing people if we don't get what we want, which is
Yeah,
terrifying.
and these assholes are still egging them on.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like in his response, he like said that he condemned it, but at the same time, it was like egging it on. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, I have to say this, but let me then go back and be like, do that double speak thing they love to do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Say what I have to say because I have to say it to not seem like a crazy person, but then let me egg on the crazy person. you
Yeah,
know. But
it's amazing more people aren't killed after
I
these
know.
rallies.
Right. I'm honestly, dude, the January 6th thing, I was so surprised they didn't just murder everybody with guns. Just show up with grenades and guns and whatever else and just kill as many people as they could. I thought it was going to be some kind of fucking massacre, to be honest.
Yeah, we were really lucky it wasn't. For some reason, the Oath Keepers held their guns back
Yeah, that was
because of,
crazy.
because of the gun laws in DC.
I think because they have such stringent gun laws there in DC. Yeah.
Yeah, they held them back just in case because they were afraid of the gun laws. I guess gun laws do stop a bad guy with a gun.
Weird. Yeah. Almost. Yeah. It's almost like these people are wrong about something. It's crazy. They might, looking to American history for inspiration, conjure up the image of pilgrims. Okay. Those iron-willed and audacious Christians who refused to accept the terms set by the mainstream of their time and set out to build something entirely new, to hew it out of the wilderness of the new world, even at great personal cost.
Yeah, there's so much nuance left there. So what he's saying is, why don't we take our fashion cues from the Pilgrims? We'll dress up like characters from The Handmaid's Tale, and people won't think that's creepy.
Right.
But the pioneers, oh my God, we didn't even have a nationalized currency yet when that started. And we had the railroads being built, which was creating huge fortunes, which led to the robber barons, where we had the same problem we have now, where like 5 people own like half the wealth in the entire country and everyone else is starving. So yeah, those people got out of that bad situation and went across the country at great personal risk. But it was because of the conservative corporate class that created those conditions and forced people to take drastic measures.
Damn. So yeah, and they saw that they were on the losing side of this particular system. So then jump across the water and then go start another system so that we can be the leaders of this system over here.
Well, not the water. They're talking about the. Oh wait, he said pilgrims. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a right wing government. I was thinking Old West time. I was
Okay.
thinking the settlers that came across. But yeah, even then you had a tyrannical, theocratic government that
Yep.
was telling people they had to do it a certain way, and there was only one way to be. And yeah, they fled.
Yeah. It's so weird to where they like understand, like, we just want to be able to worship the way we want to. And they understand like everybody matters in that sense. But when it comes to anything else, they forget that other people exist. It's so crazy.
Yeah. The Pilgrims also weren't good people. So the
No.
Pilgrims were Anabaptists. Have you ever heard that term?
Anabaptists?
Yeah,
No.
they were an offshoot of the Lutherans in the Protestant Reformation, and they
Oh,
were like the radical uber conservatives.
really?
And
Oh.
they, when they moved over here, they eventually settled and became the Amish and the Mennonites.
Oh God. Okay. Jesus Christ.
These are the movements that he's holding up here. Are the radical, insane people that later dociled out and became the Amish.
And just like we're just gonna not do anything anybody else does.
Yeah,
We're
the
gonna be over here.
Anabaptists were insane. The Germans had to raze an entire city to the ground because it had become infested, and they had to blockade it. And it was like this religious cult that had taken over an entire city, and they had to burn the city to the ground.
What the fuck? Really? That's like some fucking Silent Hill shit.
Yeah, these were not great people.
Wow, that's incredible.
These
Or
were the
they?
Salem witch trial people.
Okay. Oh, the Puritans. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yep, they
Okay.
were the Pilgrims.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that makes sense. Because they were just fucking batshit. Yeah, it's bad people. So, or they might claim the mantle of revolutionaries, invoking the founding fathers' view, in parentheses, of course, or at least Thomas Jefferson's, that periodic revolution to preserve liberty and civil society has always been and always will be necessary. Okay, that's about the only way you could fucking quote Thomas Jefferson here. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't think he was talking about internal mini revolutions all the time. I think he was talking about when governments get too big, they have to be toppled. But
Yeah.
Their ideas, as revolutionary as they were for the time, don't translate to the modern era well, which is why they allow us to amend the Constitution they wrote.
Right. I just wish they would have made it a little fucking easier, but yeah, because Jesus Christ, we should have been doing that.
And the way he wrote this makes it sound like all the founding fathers thought that, but then in parentheses admitted it was just Thomas Jefferson that thought
that. Of course. Right. So, whatever the term or image, the imperative that conservatives must break from the past and forge a new political identity cannot be overstated. It is time now for something new, for a new way of thinking and speaking about what conservative politics should be. The fusionism of past decades in which conservatives made common cause with market-obsessed libertarians and foreign policy neocons is finished. So too, conservatism incorporated and the establishment GOP is enabled. It enabled, whose first priority was always tax cuts for big business at the expense of everything else. The election of Donald Trump in 2016 heralded a populist wave and the end of Republican politics as we knew it. And now we are in uncharted waters.
Yeah. Okay. So here he's admitting that the idea that conservatives have had, it's the idea really started around Barry Goldwater, and which lost. Barry Goldwater lost in a presidential election, and we put that back to the side for a few minutes and said stain until Reagan got elected, and he brought Goldwater politics back. Is that their idea is that government is broken, and if we just slowly defund it, it will starve and become so inept and unable to do anything that we can replace it. This is the whole game they're trying to play. So every time they say tax cuts, they make it sound like you, the everyman, is going to get a tax cut, but really it's the five guys at the top that get almost all of the tax cut, and they eliminate funding to run things that you and I use every day.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I saw a like at the end of the day they said that the anybody making like under 60,000 a year or something like that, which is quite a few Americans here, all got their taxes raised under Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think I remember when that big tax cut came in, and I was arguing with a guy who went off the conservative rails that I used to know back in the day. And I did the math with the calculator, and I was going to save like $1.60 something a month in taxes. And his argument is that I should suck Donald Trump's dick for that $1.62 a month.
Jesus, yeah, it's insane. But like the people at the top, like you said, that made make millions and whatnot per year, they did get substantial tax cuts, but pretty much everybody else didn't get shit.
Yeah, it was over 80% of those tax cuts just went to 1% of the population.
Jesus, that's insane. And it's more of that like trickle down bullshit. Like we promise we will make life better for the poor if you just let us not pay taxes. And of course that always is like, yeah, not yet, not yet. Well, we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it.
Yeah,
Not yet.
those people and companies just spent all of that money doing stock buybacks to raise their stock prices. They didn't trickle any of that money down. And that money only trickled down because of the pandemic and people refused to go back to work for slave wages.
Yeah.
And they had to raise the minimum. The minimum wage is meaningless in this country because nobody can pay it anymore. The workers demanded more in solidarity, and we got more.
Yeah. And and it was great. Like you're right. The pandemic shined so much light on so much because it really showed like, you had no one side saying, just get to fucking work. We need our money. I don't care if you kill your grandpa, grandma, and your entire family for all I care. Get back to work. I don't care. You got one side saying that, and they're like, it's not even that big of a deal. It's not even a problem, this, that, and the other thing, right? And then you got the left being like, no, we all need to figure out this out, shelter in place. We need to wear masks and social distance and do all this stuff. And everybody got so angry at those people. Like they were the worst people on the planet, because they're like, well, we're all going to starve then. If we're all going to shelter in place, you're the one killing people. Yeah. It was insane. Like,
yeah, we survived just fine.
Yeah, we're all right. Yeah. And I mean, and even the Republicans were giving people money. Like that's insane. That never
because their constituents demanded it.
Yeah,
they all voted against the money too. It got passed very, very narrowly, and then the people that voted no went back to their constituents and said, "Look at this money I got you after I voted no on it."
Right. It's crazy to me too because I've like talked to some people, and it's people that don't really understand politics that well. They're like, "Oh no, I really like Donald Trump because he gave me the money. He gave me money for COVID." And I'm like, dude, like he didn't want to. You would have gotten more if you had a Democrat president at that point.
Yeah. And the president isn't in charge of the money. Congress is. Congress controls all the money.
Oh, I see. Okay. Jesus.
The president cannot hand you government funds. Only Congress can do that.
Huh. Okay, I didn't realize that. I guess that's why he was always arguing with Schumer, huh? Chuck Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So to be sure, there has been plenty of talk on the right lately about what should be done differently. Some such as Sohrab Ahmari, Cladden Papin, and Adrian Vermeil. God, I'm so bad with names. Along with a larger cohort of conservative Catholic thinkers, advocate a conservatism that is comfortable with big government and in fact sees it is a necessary not only for the common good, but to tame what Amari recently called the private tyranny of woke corporations empowered by unrestrained market forces. Conservative Catholics, he argues, should today claim ownership of a pro-worker, even pro-union political agenda that once belonged to the left and which produced generations of Democrat voting Catholic workers.
Yeah.
So
So what he's saying is we gave all the power to the corporations, and then those corporations, even though we said that the market should control everything, responded to market influences when their customers told them they didn't want hate speech and they're associated with their products, and now they don't like that outcome, so they're going to rewrite the rules.
right, like it's the you got to look at the end of the day, and this is what I'm always trying to explain to conservatives specifically is like making money in general has a left-leaning bias because you want to appeal to a wide group. And not only do you have gay people that exist that spend money, and black people and Muslims and everything else, you also have people that advocate for those people and will stop spending money at those establishments if they think that that place would be cruel to one of their friends or family or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's just capitalism. Holy shit.
Gay people buy Pepsi and M&Ms too, and
yeah,
those Mars and PepsiCo want those people to buy their products. They want everyone to buy their products, and everyone having access to those products is a good thing for everyone.
yeah. Like, come on. Like, it's crazy that they're mad about this. This is their system of just the free market, right?
Yeah,
You
they
know?
were telling us the entire time that the free market was going to fix everything. Well, the free market fixed it.
Yeah.
And now they don't like the fix.
Now they're mad at the free market.
Yeah, so now they want the government to take control of the corporations. This is starting to sound a lot like communism.
I know, right? They're like, can we like use some spray paint? I need to see the invisible hand and get it to do what I want.
Yeah.
Right? Like, get it, throw some paint in the air. Jesus. Indeed, a willingness to embrace government power has been a topic of fruitful debate on the quote unquote new right in recent years, as it should be. However, uncomfortable traditional small government conservatives might be with Amari's argument. It is more or less true. So,
yeah, let's just keep going. We've got a lot of this left to go.
I was gonna say, put bluntly, if conservatives want to save the country, they are going to have to rebuild and, in a sense refound it. And that means getting used to the idea of wielding power and not despising it. Why? Because accommodation or compromise with the left is impossible. One need only consider the speed with which the discourse shifted on gay marriage, from assuring conservatives ahead of the 2015 Obergefell decision that gay Americans were only asking for toleration to the never-ending persecution of Jack Phillips.
Okay. Do you know who Jack Phillips is?
No.
Jack Phillips is that asshole that had the Supreme Court case because he wouldn't make the gay wedding cake.
Oh, it's the cake dude again. Wow, we're back on the cake thing. That's incredible.
Yeah, they will not let the cake thing go.
Damn.
So he's saying that compromising was a bad thing because all they said was gay people just want to get married. But really, they wanted to get married and persecute Jack Phillips.
And they wanted their cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I say continue to tolerate gay marriage. Yeah. Tolerate is not the right word. Gay marriage is a great thing, and a lot more people are happy now because of it. And also, we should add persecution of Jack Phillips to the bill that made gay marriage legal.
Yeah, he's literally singling them out for a thing. Like, he's the one being the asshole. Just
every
sell
time
the fucking cake.
Yeah, every time there's a same-sex wedding, both people getting married should have to kick him in the balls.
That's the new fucking. That's like breaking the cup under the hat, but like for Jewish people, but for gay folks. Yeah, I like that tradition there. The left will only stop when conservatives stop them, which means conservatives will have to discard outdated and irrelevant notions that small government, quote unquote, the government will have to become, in the hands of conservatives, an instrument of renewal in American life. And in some cases, a blunt instrument indeed.
Wow. Okay. So this is where he's
Christ.
really starting to advocate for fascism.
Yeah.
Let's forget everything we said about small government for 60 years. And now let's go ahead and make it big government. But let's make sure it's our big government and we can use it as a hammer to control you.
Jesus. Yeah. That is literally fucking. That's fascism, man. Holy shit. It's literally their understanding of what communism is. But they're like, but as long as we got it, it's cool.
Yes.
Jesus. Wow. It's unbelievable they can't think outside of that. But to stop big tech, for example, will require using antitrust powers to break up the largest Silicon Valley firms.
Of course.
I know, right?
Why aren't we doing that already?
I actually agree with them on this one.
Let's do that. We can all now agree. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it. To stop universities from spreading poisonous ideologies will require state legislators to starve them of public funds. Wow, what the fuck? The poison. Oh, so I mean, let's go back here really quick. To stop universities from spreading poisonous ideologies, which is, I mean, you get that they mean what by poisonous ideologies? They mean reality. They mean not Christianity.
All the context and gray area in between.
Yeah.
Between everybody's point of view. Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Get rid of all that. Like, we're just right. To stop the disintegration of the family might require reversing the travesty of no-fault divorce combined with generous subsidies for families with small children. Conservatives need to shy away from making these arguments because they betray some cherished libertarian fantasy about free market and small government. It is time to clear our minds of can't.
So the no-fault divorce thing is real weird in there. As somebody who has been divorced, semi-recently, the no-fault divorce is probably a good thing.
What the fuck is no-fault divorce? Like, I know what divorce is. Don't get me wrong, but like, what
a
is
no-fault
no-fault?
Divorce means that the court doesn't really care if one spouse cheated on the other. You guys, it's just like saying, all right, you guys want a divorce, let's just dissolve this. We'll make it as best we can from the children. We'll each give you as close to a 50 share as we can, and you can move on as individuals.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So this guy sounds like somebody who got cheated on real hard, and he's still real mad about it. But then he also wants to take away the tax subsidies for families with kids.
Oh my God. Wow.
So he wants to raise taxes on the lower end. But I'm sure he has tons of articles writing about how those rich people tax cuts was really important.
But I mean, that's objectively like a worse society, isn't it? Like, you're gonna have objectively more angry, miserable people, given if what he wants is implemented.
Yeah, who wins in that scenario? Okay, you get to call your soon-to-be ex-wife a slut in court because she cheated on you. What did you get for that? What does that matter in the grand scheme of things?
I guess he got the boat, right? So I get the boat now because she's, she fucked the gardener. Whatever. Jesus Christ. Like, I'm in the Desperate Housewives world for that analogy there. But in other contexts, wielding government power will mean a dramatic expansion of the criminal code.
Yep, there's going to be a lot of new anti-sodomy laws they're going to have to put in the books.
You can make money off a lot of these sodomy laws. Jesus. It will not be enough, for example, to reach an accommodation with the abortion regime to agree.
I don't think he knows what that word means.
Right. Like, no, that's not the right. Okay. Reasonable limits on when unborn human life can be snuffed out with impunity.
That's right. We do it with flamethrowers.
Yeah. Just like, spread your legs, Sonny, and just shoot this up there. As Abraham Lincoln once said of slavery, we must become all one thing or all the other. The Dobbs decision was, in a sense, the end of the beginning of the pro-life cause. Wait, what is
the end of the beginning? That was the end of phase 1 of the pro-life movement. Is what he's saying.
But wasn't Dobbs the What was Dobbs? That was the.
Dobbs was the one where they reversed Roe v. Wade.
Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. So wait,
You're
but how
thinking
is
of
that?
Obergefell.
I am. Yes, that's exactly. Okay, I mixed those up. It's all just people's names. Jesus. Okay, so but how is that the beginning of the end? Or the beginning of the pro-life cause? Oh wait, but
The
how would that be
beginning of
the end?
the end of the beginning of the cause is what he said.
Okay. So that's just the first step, and they gotta keep going.
Yeah. So, but what
Okay.
he's saying here is they need their new humongous government with the hammer to hit people with to now hit people who are pro-abortion because that's
Gotcha.
unacceptable. And Abraham Lincoln said so because I took this quote out of context.
Because there's all or nothing fucking sense of everything. Okay. And now comes the real fight in state houses across the country to outlaw completely the barbaric practice of killing the unborn. Wow. Jesus Christ. So completely, so no, okay, so all rape babies. And so this dude just really wants a what do you call it, with like the kids, they're just with no parents, just like just millions of them, overrunning our government.
Yep. Everyone gets babies now except for his ex-wife because fuck her.
Yeah, and he should get the vote. Jesus. Conservatives had better be ready for it, and Republican politicians, if they want to stay in office, had better have an answer ready when they are asked what reasonable limits to abortion restrictions they would support. The answer is none. Wow. For the same reason they would not support reasonable limits to restrictions on premeditated murder? What the fuck? How stupid is this guy?
He's going real off the rails here at the end. This doesn't have anything to do with what he started about.
No, yeah, he's just saying nonsense at this point. Dude, those things are not really like you have to exist to be murdered? Like you have to be a person that's separate from another person to be murdered, right?
Well, yeah, you have to have sentience and sapience. You have to have both of them. And a fetus has neither of those things.
Jesus, yeah, I feel like this is the simplest shit ever. Stopping a pregnancy is not the same thing as fucking murder, man. It's a misnomer. That's it. And it's a misnomer in order to elicit an emotional response, and that's literally it.
Yep.
But okay, on the transgender question, it's not really a question. It's just that they exist and they're here.
Yeah, they do in fact exist. We figured out the answer to that question.
Yep, they're here. Yep. Conservatives will have to repudiate utterly the cowardly position of the people like David French, in whose malformed worldview, drag queen story hour at taxpayer-funded library is a blessing of liberty. Conservatives need to get comfortable saying in reply to people like French that drag queen story hour should be outlawed. Wow. That parents
worse.
that parents who take their kids to drag shows should be arrested and charged with child abuse. Fucking what the hell? That doctors who perform so-called gender affirming interventions, that's just any intervention, okay, should be thrown in prison and their medical licenses revoked, and that teachers who expose their students to sexually explicit material should just be fired, or not only be fired, but be criminally prosecuted. God, what the fuck? This dude's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath.
The whole idea of them being so upset about drag queen story hour amazes me. Do they not understand that drag queens are like a character that somebody made up?
It's fun.
It's performance art, and it's not sexual performance art. At all. No, and a drag show happens in a bar, so you can't take your kids to that. You should be prosecuted if you take your kids to a bar. But drag queen story hour is just a drag queen reading a book.
Yeah, and do you know how popular that show, the drag queen race or whatever where they RuPaul's drag show. Yeah, exactly. You know how popular that is with kids? Because it's exact. Remember, think about this. Think of all the fucking kids shows that you watch, right? They all act over the top, right? They're wearing bright colors. They're talking like crazy, way over the top. You know, it's all everything. It's perfect for them. It's exactly that RuPaul's drag show, right? Like it's made almost for them without it being intentionally for them.
Yeah,
Like it's just it's perfect.
It's characters, it's entertainment, and it's fun. We have a great here in Portland. We've had this bar called Darcel's that has been putting on a drag show as long as I've been alive, and probably will be until the end of time. It is a fantastic show, and if you're ever in Portland, you should go to the Darcel Drag Show. You will see people from every walk of life there to enjoy it because it's hilarious. There's people in character lip syncing to 80s pop songs. There's nothing not fun about that.
That's fucking yeah. We got one here. We got a place called Punky's in St. Pete, Florida, and yeah, it's it's a drag kind of place, where everybody is in drag, where they serve you and stuff, and they do shows and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's no sex going on.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so the rest of his list here, they don't do gender reassignments on kids. They don't do it.
But I think he didn't even say on kids. He said just in general, anybody that does it.
Yeah, if you have someone who's questioning or thinks or are trans and they're a child, you just give them puberty blockers and you just defer the question to a little later when they're an adult and they can make the decision.
Exactly. That is legally the whole point. And
that's all they do. They just flip the off switch on puberty. That's
exactly.
It. You can go through it at any time.
Right. And keep in mind that those that puberty blockers have been used for tons of other issues on kids for the longest time. But as soon as trans kids want to use it, now it's a big fucking problem.
Yeah. No, you should not be losing your medical license for giving somebody medical care.
It's based on the science too. Like they're going with the science.
Yeah. And I do agree with his last statement that teachers who expose students to sexually explicit materials should be fired and criminally prosecuted. That is true, and that has always been true, and it always will be true, and it's not what he's saying it is.
No, he's not. I mean, and what we're talking about right now is like a teacher being like, all right, kids, this is Pornhub. Check this out. Now, what do you guys, just pick a fantasy. What's your fantasy? What do you guys, give me a fantasy and we'll look it up. That's like exposing kids to sexually explicit content, not just teaching kids that gay people exist.
Yeah, but he's riling you up here because he makes you think that people are doing that. Yeah.
Well, because they connect being gay and being trans and anything in the LGBTQ community. It's all sexual. It's all overly sexualized. Now, a lot of that comes because of the shaming that was done in the past, right? So a lot of it is like, hey, it is sexualized, right? Overly, but like it's not necessarily all the time, right? It's just that was a part of it, and they sort of like linked that together in their mind and think that it has to do with the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're so afraid of penises and butts, and that's not. Yeah. Sometimes in the great words of Matt Stone and Trey Parker, sometimes dicks need to fuck assholes.
Exactly. We're gonna have to put that on a mug, If all that sounds radical, fine. I need not at this late hour dissuade conservatives in the least. Radicalism is precisely the approach needed now, because the necessary task is nothing less than radical and revolutionary. To those who worry that power corrupts and that once the right seizes power, it too will be corrupted, they certainly have a point. If the conservatives manage to save the country and rebuild our institutions, will they ever relinquish power and go the way of Cincinnatus? Okay. It is a fair question, and we should attend to it with care after we have won the war. But dude, it's too late at that point, man. We can't wait till you guys all have all the power to be like, I don't think I'm gonna give it up. No, man. Like, obviously they're not gonna give it up. Like, I've never seen any Republican ever that has any amount of power ever relinquish even the tiniest bit of it.
Yeah, with the exception of every president who peacefully transitioned.
But that's gone out the window now because this latest one wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, he. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Is that well, we have to just grab it and control it and hope it doesn't get bad, but that gets bad. That's communism.
Literally, yeah. Oh my God. And it's like, and it just reminds me of the Roger Stone. Like, they said we won. No, we won. Fuck you. It's like, we're just going to say we won. And then that means we won.
Yeah, there was something I missed, a line I missed back here. I read it the first time that I read through this, and I forgot to comment on it when you and I were going through it just now. But he was talking about using antitrust to stop big tech.
Oh, yeah.
But he also talks about how the government should have a role in how future technology is developed so that it can be controlled for the benefit of the conservatives. And that, too, is communism.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I'm not talking about Marxism here, like the theory of communism. We're talking about communism in large-scale practice. We're talking about the Soviets and the Chinese, how the state controls everything, especially the technology. And we don't want that. And they don't want that either. That's a terrible fucking idea.
No, yeah, because it's always up to the people with power that we get to decide what is good for the world or not. And they're always going to just decide that what's good for them is good for the world, and that's it. Always.
Yeah. Well, and it slows down progress because the creativity of the populace isn't unleashed anymore.
Oh, right.
So, like, as bad as late stage capitalism is, you need some capitalism in a system to keep things fresh and keep ideas flowing, right? That's why the Scandinavians are so successful, because they both have socialism, but they also have the free market as well. And if you can blend those two ideas together, you can get the best of both worlds.
That's the thing. A little bit of capitalism goes a long way, but you need to have some kind of oversight to say that we can't just let all the money pile up in one person's hands.
Yeah, and we can't let one business take over an entire sector of the economy.
Right, exactly. So for now, there are only two paths open to conservatives. Either they awake from decades of slumber to reclaim and refound what has been lost, or they will watch our civilization die. There is no third road. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's literally a false dichotomy, bro.
Yeah, civilization is not dying. The world is a safer, better place than it was at any time in human history before now.
Oh yeah, straight up. Like it's and that's what I was just thinking about, like, not too long ago. Like, we are so lucky to be born when we are, and where we are, but like mostly when we are, because like, there were people that were born and were just slaves and then died, and that was it. That was their whole existence.
Yeah, for thousands of years.
Yeah, that is awful. What a terrible time to be in existence. It's just a fucking nightmare. But yeah, so I don't know. It's crazy that they're just saying the quiet part out loud now, of just, we need to take the messaging for small government was stupid. We should have we should be trying to take power any way we can get it and then do what we want with it, instead of like appeasing all of these people that aren't in our exact demographic.
Yeah. Yeah, they're openly now just calling for you to rise up as a patriot revolutionary with your gun and seize power so that the Christians don't lose any more power. God, that idea is terrifying.
It is absolutely terrifying. That is sick. But the sad thing is that they don't realize is that even if, let's say, that does happen, right? Do they really think that they're not going to start fighting with each other over this shit? They're just going to start drawing more lines in the sand and dividing themselves into pieces, even if they had all the power.
Yeah, what happens when the Presbyterians try to take power back from the Baptists?
Exactly. Yes. That's when, because it isn't just one thing, and they think that they're all unified, because they're like, oh, we're all Christian, white, uh, conservatives or whatever. They're not, though. They're all over the place. They're divided in so many goddamn ways they have no fucking clue, but they don't talk to anyone else, so they don't know that. That's why the internet has basically led to their fucking, demise almost, other than them doing this troll shit, where they can just get people emotionally involved.
Yeah. Well, I take comfort in the fact that this guy's now flailing and saying that we now need Soviet-style communism to save conservatism. He really exposes the whole lie. Yeah. He doesn't get that, but that's the game they're playing here. I mean, they've lost. They are not going to get back into large-scale power. We might not see another Republican president for a while.
God, I hope so. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty bold prediction. We might get one more, but they're deeply unpopular demographic-wise, and their little tricks and trolling are only going to take them so far.
And I feel like more people are like kind of snapping out of it and realizing, oh, I'm just being emotionally manipulated by, Tucker Carlson or whatever, it's just becoming more and more obvious, the way that they are manipulating everybody with they have a well-oiled right-wing media machine. I have to say, they pick a culture war that they know makes people uncomfortable. At this point is the transgender people existing. And, and their kids might be transgender. That freaks them the fuck out, And it's like, oh, wait, you mean my kid can all of a sudden just not be the gender? I threw a party and everything with pink shit everywhere. What are you talking about? Of course they got to be that gender. That freaks them the fuck out. And they're at the front line of the culture war at this point.
Yeah. I look forward to a future, Brent, when I can wake up and decide what gender I want to be that day.
Hell yeah. Technically that does happen today, but, only by a few very, very confident people.
Yeah, and not to a scale I want. Like, I want to be like peak era Pierce Brosnan one day, and then I want to be Jessica Rabbit the next.
Fuck yeah, dude. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's gender fluidity, and we need it.
Every time I come on this show, it takes me down a new Pornhub rabbit hole. Thanks, Brent.
You bet. That's what we're going for. That's the goal.
And the world is a better place.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, that was a doozy. Holy shit. But so, what do we say to the haters, discriminators, and masturbators?
Fuck
off.
Timing